So just bouncing off what y'all both are saying and a lot of the conversation we've been having, similarly, I'm thinking a lot about the idea of just, I think, kind of myth busting around apps, like really demystifying them and thinking about how to get into them as really an accessible tool, as something that allows access to immediate music making, but also, like y'all are both saying, like really getting in with that deep learning with the app so that, I don't just use this one app for this one thing, but this is really like a pretty expansive toolbox that I have at my disposal. And so I'm definitely hoping to focus on some specific apps, like we mentioned Koala, and trying to get in deep with those so that there's just a better understanding of the potentials of them, and seeing them again, like not as a barrier, but as a way to just jump right into music and the client. And similarly, I'm thinking a lot about just merging like the acoustic instruments with the digital and with the electronic instruments, and really utilizing like the soundscapes that are available. So what is it like to bring in the sounds from a hospital room, for example, or the sounds of monitors, right? The sounds of all these things that we might perceive initially as maybe unpleasant to remix, to recontextualize, and give the client access to kind of experience and make meaning of their own environment in a new way. And I think that that's something that some of these sampling apps in particular really allow a lot of access to. And yeah, just the last thing I'll say on top of that is that I think there's such a rich history to a lot of the music that has inspired some of these music making apps, that I think it's really important to contextualize that too. And so I'm thinking a lot about, when I go into sampling, like how, what is the music that's been sampled prior? What does it mean to remix, right? When we get into that type of language, and really also what is the client's connection to that, right? They might have a pretty deep history. Like I'm thinking about, I've worked with clients who, when I ask them, what is your connection to music? They say like, oh, I DJ. And then depending on what I have available, I might have to be like, well, I have a maraca, right? That's not really like speaking the same language. So I want to really, honor those connections to those musical cultures. I think that's about it.
Just going off of that, I think that's been personally one thing, particularly because there is so much electronic based music right now. And there are certain genres and styles you cannot authentically replicate on an acoustic physical instrument. Because I've definitely tried, because I had nothing else available, and definitely had those moments where like, well, check in with the client, what do you think about this? And you go for it, and you're like, and they're like, okay, that was nice. And you're like, right? And I think it's so important, because we have to find ways, right, as you're saying, Jesse, that really are authentic, not only to the music itself, but to our clients' experiences. I mean, that's such an integral part of what we do, is honoring who our clients are. And that includes their experience with music, the type of music they want, and creating that environment that truly is authentic to who they are. And, particularly if our clients do have any identities that have been historically marginalized or oppressed, it's so important to make sure that we're figuring out the most appropriate and culturally sensitive ways that we can do that.
Absolutely. And also, I think just looking at our own positionality within that, as whatever our own individual identities are, and also coming in as the music therapist, right? Which is like, I think it assumes sort of like some role of expertise or something, which I don't know. I think we have to do a lot of work to dismantle that, and to really, balance that out for our clients too.
One thing that came to mind when you were talking, or both of you were talking about understanding your client's experience with music to inform the apps that you're choosing. It reminds me of, so I just started a new job with adults with traumatic brain injuries and various developmental disabilities. And so me wanting to bring in tech and be all innovative, I was like, all right, I'm going to teach them about samplers and all these different apps when they don't use they don't use them. But what they do enjoy with music is listening and music videos, like just watching music videos. So even in that sense, so I may not bring in a koala or another sort of sampling app, but I might bring in, like a video creation app and make a music video or remake a music video that they really enjoy with them as like the center. So when we're talking about apps, we don't have to talk just about specifically like music making apps, but apps that are I guess music adjacent or music related. Yeah.
It definitely has implications too, I think, for those of us that have the ability to co-treat too.
Mm-hmm.
Co-treating with, other creative arts therapists. I know there used to be, we haven't really even talked about this yet, but some of the challenges just with apps are that as each software gets updated, sometimes the app developers don't update the apps, and so sometimes they stop working, which is so frustrating. There used to be this great app called Storymaker that I used to love, and it literally was, you created a story.
Yeah.
Just thinking about the fun implications of using something like that with a drama therapist and adding music, either again through a different program or doing it, with physical acoustic instruments live in the moment, as the story is playing virtually, just all these really different ways. Just, you were talking about this too earlier, just all these fun ways of how can we connect all of these different experiences or ways together that apps really, I think, have allowed us to do, which has been super exciting.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, just thinking about the conversation we've been having just about, as therapists, we come in with the app and we already have to have this pre-existing knowledge. And sometimes there are those cases where we want our clients, the people we're working with, to teach us, because maybe that's part of their therapeutic goal or the focus of the work. So I think that's also the other fun aspect too, just similar, like it could be maybe the client brings in, an electric guitar, and electric guitar is maybe not your strength. Well, show me a song that you like to play. Would you teach me how to do this lick? Those again, if it's therapeutically appropriate, right? And the work that you're doing, or if it helps build rapport, those sorts of things. And I think that can also be extended to apps too. Is if you have a client that really loves an app, oh, I don't know that app. Well, show me, what do you like about this app? What should we do with this app today? And if it's appropriate, letting the client lead and have that autonomy, have that leadership, if it's appropriate to what you're working on.
Right.
I feel like that's like really the importance of a lot of what we're talking about here too, as far as familiarizing ourselves with a lot of these apps, because we're never going to know them all, right? We're never going to know everything. There is a billion apps, not going to know. But there's this idea, and I think about this like in terms of a lot of aspects too, like in terms of just, I don't know, even like understanding the potential histories or backgrounds of the clients whom we're working with. We're coming in with a certain level, or we should be coming in with a certain level of knowledge, but like don't know the individual knowledge, the individual lived experience, right, of whomever we're working with. And so I love that idea, applying that concept to like the app world too. Like, okay, I've dived in, I know what I know, but show me what you know. If you'd like, let me into your world in that sense. And yeah, I really like that idea, Rebecca.
Mm-hmm.